influencers, social media
Okay.
influencers.
All
So
right.
let's deep dive right into yours. And when we talk about deep diving, we are talking about childhood, starting from
Yeah.
childhood.
Sure.
So let's begin. So
Yeah.
talk to us with stories, with everything.
Um, I was no, I wasn't a class clown. I wasn't a teacher's pet. I was kind of in the middle of the two.
Okay,
Um, Still had to be good in school. You know, typical Indian family.
of
Um,
course.
Still had to be good in school, but typical Punjabi family. So humor was a big part of my parents' life. Like they were very, very funny on two different spectrums. Like my dad liked classical, clean, clean cut material. My mother, on the other hand, was like the dirtier the joke, the better. So that's what
Oh,
most people,
wonderful.
right? Which most people don't realize is in typical Punjabi families, it's the other way around. Like the men
Right. True,
will tell
true,
the
true.
dirty jokes and the women will
Correct.
gossip in the corner.
Yes.
It was the
Yes.
exact opposite
Of course.
for me. So my mom liked dirty, naughty, jokes, whatever. My dad was my dad had one joke. He's like, the global shipping companies, like, what do you say to me? He said, FedEx and UPS have merged and now they're fed up. Like that was his joke. And then my mother had a joke about three nuns going to visit the Pope that I can't tell here, but you
Oh
can find
God, yes.
online. So, uh, but yeah, so I mean, that's kind of it. Like I was a kind of a
Okay.
different, I was a different kid. Like I was walking at 7 months old. I was completely verbal and communicative by before 18 months old, and reading and writing at 3. And so I just kind of found what uh, a different journey. I wanted to be an actor. I told my dad when I was 4 years old that I wanted to be an actor.
Wow.
Um, and yeah,
And this was all in Dallas, Texas?
this is in Dallas, Texas. Yeah.
Okay. So you're
Uh,
born there as well.
born in Dallas. Parents came from London.
Okay.
Born in Dallas. We went back to London for about a year and a half, and then we went to India for another year or so because it was easier back then. I'm 49 years old, so it was easier back then for them to take me when I was born to show
Yes.
the new baby instead of everybody coming over. Now it's
Everybody
easy
can, of
for
course.
yeah, instead of
Of
now it's
course.
easy for everybody to come over because the tickets are not that expensive and
True.
everybody's got a
True.
place to stay and so on and
True.
so forth. So
Right.
it was a
Right.
lot easier for them, for my mom to take me there and
Right.
stay and everybody to see and then go to India and do that. So, but yeah, everything happened here in Dallas. I grew up kind of lucky with my dad was a huge Bollywood movie Hindi cinema fan, and like he was the first one to show Hindi movies in Dallas.
Oh, nice.
He would rent out
Very cool.
lecture hall at University of Dallas, and it
Oh,
came with a
wow.
projector, and
Okay.
he would call the cinema houses in Mumbai and have them send the print or the film, and then he would show it there. And it was, I think, if I remember correctly, it was $2 was the ticket, $1 for chai, and $2 for samosa. So
Wonderful. Excellent. So he was a distributor?
no, he was just a fan, and
Okay. All right.
he
Okay,
just missed
cool.
going, like, they were in London for 17 years, so he missed going
Okay.
to the cinema to watch Hindi movies because that wasn't a
Movies.
thing
Yeah.
in Dallas,
Yeah.
Texas. So
Yeah,
he
of
was also
course.
the first one with the first Indian radio station in Dallas, and so he was a big proponent of the arts. So when I decided to get into acting and comedy, he was a big fan. My mother was a nurse who wanted to be a doctor, and she
Okay.
wanted me to be a doctor. So she was kind of, my dad was like, do what you want to do and
Mhm.
pursue your dream. And my mom's like, pursue your dream after you become a doctor. So that was
That kind of reminds me of a story of mine. My dad was a scientist. He was
Oh,
in
wow.
computer science, and my mom was a mathematics professor. So
Oh,
when I
wow. Okay.
came to Clark University in Boston, I did a master's, did a minor in maths and major in computer science, just to make sure that
Okay.
they're both happy,
Mm-hmm.
that they both think that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
So I was pre-med in college.
There you
And
go.
yeah, and I remember calling my dad and saying, I've been taking a lot of acting classes and a lot of acting stuff, and I think I want to change my major. And he loved it. Like, he was a huge, huge fan of cinema, and he said, "Okay, please do what you want. Don't tell your mother." And he let me change my major to acting, and yeah, my mother got my
Wow.
grade sheet one
So was that
summer.
a huge surprise when the when for your
She
mother?
she she cried.
Oh,
Uh, and uh,
yeah.
I'm not even making this up. Like, until the day she passed, she's like, you can still be a doctor. You know that, right? And I was like, no. I'm like, I'm already on TV. I'm doing good stuff. I'm like, I don't need to. If I want to be a doctor, I'll play one on TV. But
Oh my God,
yeah.
I love
So
that. I love that, of
yeah.
course. Oh
Until
God,
the
yeah.
moment she said, you can still do it. I'm like,
You,
oh,
you
okay.
you gotta love Indian parents for that.
Oh yeah,
They
for sure,
they
for sure.
never give up on their dreams for their child.
Their kids, yeah, that's right.
They never do that. That's
For
okay.
sure, for sure. So
Yeah,
that's kind of the, and then, growing up in Texas, with in small town Texas outside of Dallas, a place called
yeah.
Mesquite, Texas. It
Mhm.
was very hyper racist. So I was picked on a lot. We were the first Indian family in 1981 in
Oh,
Mesquite,
okay.
Texas. We were the first Indian family there, and so I learned to use humor as a defense mechanism,
Wonderful.
just to get out of
Excellent.
situations, because it takes a, I don't know how loose we can be with the language on this, but it takes a special kind of asshole to hit you if he's laughing.
Of course.
That's what I've always
No,
said.
no, no, that's
Is
true. That's true, of course. And that kind
yeah,
of, situation, which is a
yeah,
grave situation, but then you have to deal with it in a way
yeah.
where,
Well,
yeah,
I figured this out about 9 years old. Is I would do like cartoon voices, or like mimicry, celebrity voices, all that stuff, because I would do it for the girls in school, because the guys all liked those girls, and if I made the girls laugh, they would get mad at the guys if they picked on me.
right, right,
So
right.
I learned very early on to write for your audience, and my audience. I always write for the women in the audience, because it's
There
easier
you
for me.
go.
Like, yeah, if you make women laugh, and the guy sitting next to her will laugh as well, because either he's on a date or it's an anniversary or whatever. So he's more inclined to laugh at my stuff if she's laughing.
That's a strategy, right?
It's very
That's
selfish.
wonderful.
It's a very selfish strategy,
That's a
but it
that's a
works
very
every time.
interesting. Well, everyone has life strategy, and that's yours, and that's fine.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it works
Yeah.
every time. It is yet to fail.
Excellent, excellent. Wonderful, but it depends, yeah. Excellent, wonderful. So when did you realize that comedy was your calling? Like, this is it.
That was what I did in our little, we call it neighborhoods here, you call it colonies there, but in the neighborhood, like, that's what I did. Is I made all the kids laugh, and I made all the jokes, and I made, if somebody had a family member that passed away, I was there to, console them and make people laugh and figure out the situation. So I knew about 8 or 9, and then when I was 11, my cousin had come from India to study, of all things, computers, in in
I did
Dallas.
the same thing.
And
I did the
uh,
same thing. So don't say that.
I know, but I mean, like, but he was substantially old. Like, I think he was about 10 years older, and
Okay.
he brought my parents were at a dinner party, and he was like, because he was living there now, he was living with us. They were like, okay, well, you can watch the kids while we go out for this dinner party. And so they went out, and he brought Eddie Murphy Delirious, and he's like, it was him and his buddy Ricky, and he goes, don't tell anybody that we brought this. And I was like, okay, I won't say a word. And he put in Eddie Murphy Delirious. And I did a show a few years ago when I was in Las Vegas, and that's where
Okay.
he lives now. And he came and surprised me. I didn't expect him to be there. I hadn't seen him in probably 25 years.
Oh my
And he
God.
was
Okay.
there, and he said, I always knew you were going to be a comedian. And I said, why is that? And he said, he goes, do you remember when we brought Eddie Murphy Delirious? And I said, yes. He goes, everybody else was laughing and cracking up. He said, and you were watching it like a student watching a professor giving a lecture.
Oh my goodness. Wow. That's some observation, right?
Yeah. And he's like, you would ask,
Yeah.
like, why did he say that right there? Why did he
Mm.
say this? Why wouldn't he say this? Is he getting paid? How old is he? Like, how do you get into And so it just became a thing that I just continued to make people laugh all the way through. How I got into stand-up comedy is a completely different story, but I always knew I wanted to do that.
Okay. Okay. So now you were in college, pre-med,
Yeah.
and then you switched to acting. So you
Yep.
graduated with acting?
Yes.
Okay. And so by that time you started your stand-up comedy or no?
No, what you do is, in America, it's very typical for all, first generation kids to go to work for their family business.
Of course.
And my parents had a family business, and I got done, and it was, that acting thing is very cute. And now come join the business where you can make money.
Of course.
And and I joined the family business, and we had a staffing company where we staffed nurses in hospitals. My mother was a nurse, and that was her skill. And my dad, in London, my dad was a CPA for Quaker Oats, but when he got here, the CPA test was very expensive back in those days. So he actually helped just kind of build the business and start it while my mom, like recruited the other nurses. So I went to work for them, started dating a nurse.
Of
Uh,
course. Of
yeah, I
course.
know, I
W-
know. So our Friday night, every Friday night, we would get Chinese food, and whatever comedian had a new special out,
Okay.
we would get that, and we would eat Chinese food and watch that special. So she knew how much stand-up comedy meant to me.
Of course.
And for Christmas, she took me to a stand-up comedy show. And there was an Indian comic on stage, and
Okay.
his name is Paul Varghese, and South Indian comic. I was blown away. I was like, I've never seen. This is before Russell. This is before anybody,
Okay.
and I didn't even know we could do this.
Hmm.
So I said to her, I leaned across the table and I said, "You brought me to see an Indian comedian." She goes, "No, I just brought you to a show. I didn't know he was going to be here." So after we get done, and he was great. After we get done, I just talked to him and I just picked his brain. I was like, "How did you get into this?"
Mm.
And he told me, he told me his process, and we chatted for about 3 hours. And he's like, "You've got to do this, man. You've got to do it." And so I did, and I started taking. There was a workshop that you could take at the Addison Improv, so I took that, and it was 8 weeks, and put you on stage immediately at the end of 8 weeks, and it went really, really well. And the club then offered um, Paul and I our own show, which was Indians at the Improv, and it was the first ever South Asian only comedy show in all of North America when it first started.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
So,
we,
so your dad
yeah,
must have been proud about you
uh,
getting paid for.
that quick. Because I was still working in the family business, so
Okay.
I would get to work at about 8:30 in the morning.
Okay.
I would be done at 5:30. I
Okay.
would go to whatever, restaurant, bar, whatever, comedy club, open mic, and I would sit and wait. And when you're first starting, you go at the very end. So it could be 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning before you even go on stage, and now you're just performing to four drunk people in the audience. Uh,
That
and if
is
you,
true.
but here's the
But
thing: if
regardless,
you
they're
can get
laughing.
right, if you can get those four drunk people to laugh, then you're gonna have a great joke. It's gonna
Of
work
course.
on a sober audience.
Yes, yes.
And then I would get home. I was living with my parents after college. I would get home and get up 7 o'clock in the morning, do the same thing, and do that day in and day out until finally one day I was getting enough work. I was getting enough tours where I was having to leave work that I looked at my dad and I said, "You need to fire me." And he said, "How can I?" He was like, "How can I sack you, man? Like you're part of the family." And I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm going to pursue this full time." And he said,
Hmm.
"Okay." He goes, we're going to stop giving you any funds from the moment you walk out the door for 6 months. If you
Hmm.
can survive on your own, we'll back you." And I had to pay. I was living in my own apartment. I had my own thing. He's like, "If you can pay your own bills with this comedy stuff, if you can pay your own bills and you can feed yourself and you can do all of that for 6 months, then we'll
Hmm.
support you from here on out." And I did. I did it for
Fantastic.
6 months.
Kudos.
Yeah, yeah.
Excellent. Wonderful.
So yeah, so
So that
that's how we
that was
got to
it.
that. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So tell us about one misadventure which you've had on stage.
Oh, I've had many. Which what do you want, like a bombing or somebody trying to fight me or uh what do you want?
All of it.
There was a guy who okay, here's my favorite story. Is I had a gentleman kick himself out of the show.
Okay.
Nobody asked him to leave.
Okay.
Uh he was just really fun and very drunk. And I told I can't remember the joke, but the punchline, and I saw him like leaning back in his chair, like he was kind of going backwards, like with his foot up in the chair. And in my head, I'm telling the joke, and in my head, I'm like, he's gonna fall. He's absolutely gonna fall backwards.
Uh-huh.
And I tell the joke, and he goes to clap his hands
Uh-huh.
because he's laughing so hard. He falls. He does a backward somersault, looks
Okay.
at me and says, "Good night." And I was like, "Man, nobody's even asked you to leave." And he goes, "I know, but I have to go." And he kicked himself out of the show. Uh, and here's the other one. So when I
Yes.
first started, I
Yes.
had about 6 minutes of material, like 6 minutes of polished jokes. And I got booked in this college town
Oh my
at a
God.
place called,
Okay.
yeah. And it was packed, all these college kids packed. And they're like, "Go up and do 5." I'm like, "Perfect. I have 6. So I can stretch it out to 7 if need be." And I went up and I did my 5 minutes, and the audience is roaring. I mean, these
Oh my
guys
God.
are cheering. These guys are, I mean, I got off stage, guys giving me, high five, and girls giving me their numbers, like all that stuff.
You're right,
And the
right.
owner and the owner of the club comes up to me and he says, "I want you to come back next week. That was so amazing.
Of
You
course.
have to come back next week." And I said, "Okay, I'll be back next week." And I showed up the next week. Here's what he didn't know. He
Mm.
didn't know that's the only 5 minutes I had.
Oh my
I
goodness.
didn't know, and I didn't know that's the same audience every week.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Right?
Okay.
Right? So I go
Okay.
on stage and I start the same
Jokes.
routine from the week before. And
Oh,
it is pin drop silence.
oh my God. Oh my
Like
God.
it is so
Okay.
quiet. I was like, I I was killing last week. Like, what
Mm.
is going on? And I can see the faces in the audience. I'm like, oh, they were here last time.
Mm.
And some guy, I went to go do the punchline to one of my jokes, and somebody in the audience did it.
Oh my God.
And
This is what's
then,
coming. This is what's
yeah, and
coming.
then he started heckling me.
Oh God.
And the audience was loving him, and they were hating me.
Oh my God.
And I literally walked off to where I could hear my shoes on the tile as I walked off. That's how quiet it was. And I got paid the week before. This time, the owner wasn't even there when I finished. So I didn't even get paid for that set. That's how bad it was.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
how bad
So
it was.
now, where do you go for your inspiration?
It's gonna sound very, very odd, but I most of my material I write in the shower.
Very cool. So bathroom
It's
it
the weird.
is. So
It is. I
bathroom
don't know.
it
You don't.
is. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Because you'll understand this. Some people sing in the shower,
Exactly. That's
right?
why I said, most people
Yeah,
say that, oh, I'm a bathroom singer. I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
so
a
your material comes from
I'm a shower comedian. That's where.
exactly.
Uh,
It all
so,
begins in the shower.
so, it does. Some of my best jokes of I'll be in the shower and I'll just think of something. I'm like, okay, that's clever.
Right.
And I'll get out
Right.
of the shower and I'll write it down in my. I have a little notebook that I keep on my bedstand, so I'll write on my beds. I'll write that, and then I'll expand on that joke. And as time goes by, when you're trying to build a new hour set
Hmm.
or a new 90-minute set, whatever you're trying to do, it just kind of that inspiration happens. And also when I walk my dog, if
Hmm.
I'm walking my dog, he's not going to talk to me. And so, so you can't leave me alone with my own thoughts. So, as I'm walking him and making sure that he's doing okay,
Yeah.
that same joke I wrote in the shower, I'll keep building on, and usually that's where it comes from. And uh, hysterically enough, my ex-wife, so I was married before, my ex-wife, is somebody that I'll launch a joke out and go, hey, what do you think about this joke? If she laughs, then it's good. if
That's
she
that.
if she says something like, oh well, that's interesting, then it's not a good joke. I got to keep
Okay.
working on it.
Okay.
So we're walking the dog, ex-wife.
Good.
That's
So
kind of how it works. Yeah.
okay, cool. So now, if comedy were a dish, what would your comedy
Yes.
style taste like? Spicy,
Oh my.
sweet, or something
uh
unpredictable?
I would say sweet and savory.
Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Something that isn't too harsh. There's no malice. There's no. I'm not vulgar, but
Mm.
there is a spice kick to it. There is a sweet side to it, um, and yeah, I think it's any palate could handle it.
Fantastic. That's cool. Now,
Yeah.
if you were to write an autobiography, would you think the
Hmm.
title would be?
For me,
Mm.
um, growing up in Texas and being Punjabi, I would call it Cowboy and Indian.
Okay. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, of course.
Of course, I grew up with cowboys and and I'm
Yes.
Indian, so
Yes, that's
that
true.
yeah.
Yeah, that's true. Wonderful. Excellent. So, tell me about your Instagram following and growth.
So so again, with it's
So,
the
how did the social media journey begin?
okay. So I never believed in it at all. I'm from the old school. I started stand up 23, 24 years ago. So
Mhm.
back then there was no social media. You just
Mhm.
had to be funny, and that's how you got booked.
Right.
And so many years later, again, now divorced, my ex-wife, who's also my agent. That's who you're. If you were reached out to Claire, she's my ex-wife, which is my agent at Gersh. Uh,
I was gonna, I was gonna, I was gonna add. Was she the nurse? I was
no, no,
like,
no,
okay,
no, no. The nurse is very happily married with 2 kids. I'm friends with every ex-girlfriend. The
well,
nurse is
that's
very
the way
happily.
to be. Absolutely. Why
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
not? Yeah, yeah, sure.
And my ex-wife is my agent and my best friend. But she was always on me to like, you got to up your social media. You got to up your social media. And I'm like, you know what? It's cyclical. It's going to come back to just being funny again one day.
Mm, mm.
And she said this, she said, are you tired of seeing people become successful that are less talented than you?
Oh my God, that's a hard thing to hit
Yeah.
on. Yeah, that's
And
a
I
hard.
said, yes. And she goes, well, then start doing something about it. So randomly one day, I had a joke that was on there. It's the Jesus, excuse me, playing football in high school
Mhm.
and seeing Jesus. That's the joke that went viral. And I had put that on 3-4 months before, and it may have had maybe 6,000 views, which I thought at the time was a lot.
It was a lot.
I'm like,
Yeah.
6,000 people have seen this joke. That's great. So I took it down. I was like, let me start this whole Instagram page all over again. So I took that same joke and there was no captioning on it. There was nothing, there was no hashtags, there was nothing. And I put the joke up. I found out how to do the captioning on my own. And if you look at the joke, it went viral. It's
Mm.
completely wrong. There's no ratio that's right. The text covers my face. There's like 25 hashtags instead of like 8. So I just put it up. I got the captioning down. I got the headline. I said playing football in Texas, I think is what it's called, or high school football in Texas,
Mhm.
and American football. And I put the captions up. I did the hashtags, and I said, you know what? Let's just see what happens with this social media garbage. And I took a nap, and I had in 3 months I had 6,000 views on that same joke.
Mhm.
I took a nap. 90 minutes later, I remember because I set my alarm for 90 minutes. I had to go somewhere. 90 minutes later, I woke up and I called my ex-wife and I said, I think you're onto something. And she said, what do you mean? I said, it had 6,000 views in 3 months. And I took a nap for 90 minutes and I'm at 225,000 views.
Wow. My goodness.
Yeah. And she said, what did I tell you? And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah. She goes, okay, so now tomorrow, figure out the next video. I go, I'm on a flight, and then I'll figure it out when I get to. So when I got to Miami, I landed in Miami, and it was at 1.8 million views.
My
And
goodness.
yeah, and by the time I got from the airport to the cruise ship that I was on, it was at 2.3 million. And I was like, okay, here we go. And now let's start posting our comedy reels. And so I started doing
Mhm.
that. And then
Mhm.
I'm like, why? Like, I think I have a good sense of humor. So like, it doesn't have to be just my material. Like, why don't we put funny videos up? The internet is full of funny videos, and so I've done that. And then when it's time for me to prepare for a show, I'll promote my shows. I'll put my comedy clips up. But in the meantime, like if I don't have anything new to give you, I'll put something funny up. I think that I find funny, and most people do. So like one of them is a commercial that was from, I think it's a French commercial, has 80 million views. Another one of my videos that's my personal comedy view thing has 14, 15 million views separately. And then, it just kind of spiraled from there and it's just worked. And now when I show up to venues, people have come because they see the social media stuff and they think it's very funny and they come to support. So it is mind boggling that actually worked because when I started, we would hand flyers, like little flyers in the
Right.
street
Right.
for people
Right.
to come
Right.
to our shows. And now I
Or
don't have
like
to do that anymore.
promotions
Yeah, yeah,
in the at the restaurant or wherever you were
yeah. Wherever we
performing.
were.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wonderful. Now, relatability and originality, how do you balance? Now this is something that it's a little different given that now you're also crafting content for social media, or it's
Yes.
the same content pretty much, that how do you know what your audience wants?
Um,
Hmm.
I don't. I think everybody has a versatile uh taste in what they find funny.
Of
So
course.
because now
Absolutely.
we're at, when I put a video up and it gets 1 million views, not all 1 million are my followers. So it's
Correct.
people that are looking at my stuff as well. So
Of
I
course.
have to keep them in mind as well. It's not just who's following me and what they liked
Mm,
before, but what about the 7 million people that followed me, that liked this post?
mm.
They seem to like that. So let me put like what they like and what my followers like kind of combined, and what I like, and let me see if I can put a little hodgepodge together and find content that they like as well.
Wonderful. So do
Yeah,
you interact with your followers?
100%. I,
Okay.
as much as I can, because like some of the posts will get 30, 40,000 comments, and I can't comment on. It would take me all day long.
More than
And but yeah,
that.
to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, in the if you look in the very beginning of when I put something on Instagram, the first few hundred comments I'll chime in on, as best as I can, and then throughout, like, I'll go back and look and see what somebody has said. And there's times where they've got people get offended, and I have to go, you listen, there was no malice behind anything I said. So you have to comment on them as well. It's not just everybody that likes
Right, of
something you
course.
say.
Certainly,
You also
certainly.
have to go, hey, listen, I didn't mean to, if I hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. That wasn't
Mm,
my intent. I also created this for everybody, and if you'll look, you're in the minority of people that don't like this thing, but I
mm,
apologize to you and to all the people. So there's a balance. Have to kind of figure out that I mean, I'm only 2 years into this.
mm,
When I took that video down before I
mm,
replaced it, I had 1,200 followers over since Instagram started. And
mm.
now in the last 2 years, I'm at almost 410,000 followers now. And so, and,
Correct.
and
Correct.
hundreds and hundreds of millions of views. So,
Right.
uh, I'm still trying to figure it out as much as the audience that I have is trying to figure it out.
Right. So what is the craziest DM that you've received?
Oh no, you don't want to know that. Can we talk about it?
No.
It doesn't matter how blue it gets, because I've had a few, and ironically, here's a couple from India. A couple of them are a couple of girls from India that are like,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they sent some, can I say, fascinating?
Yeah,
Uh,
sure, sure.
some things that I was like, man, your mother would not be proud.
Oh my God.
uh,
Okay.
I appreciated it. By all means, I appreciated it. But I was like, I've had marriage proposals. I've had people ask for money. That's a big one. Is people that that will ask for money
Okay.
from just random parts of the world, and then
Wow.
you know, uh, you know, uh, yeah, between a lot of topless selfies from some ladies in India and in Europe.
The ladies
Uh,
of India
yes, I've had a couple from India where
thinking
I'm like,
that you might be fascinated enough to actually do what?
I don't know. I don't know what the end goal was,
Okay.
but
I'm just curious, like,
no, so was
what?
I.
Like,
It was like,
marry them?
I was like, I'll be in India next year. I don't know
Okay.
what to tell you. Uh, but yeah, I
God.
had I had. Here's the sexiest one. I
Okay.
will say this. This lady said the next time, because I've been performing in India since 2013.
Mm,
Um, yeah, and um, I was in Delhi. I was staying at this hotel, but I was doing a show in Gurgaon.
okay.
And I had left the venue and went back to my hotel. And years later, I guess this girl who was at that show,
Mhm,
she said, "Next time you're back in Delhi, let me know and I'll meet you at the hotel." And I said, I don't stay anywhere near the venue. I usually
mhm,
stay about an hour away. And she said, "I
mhm.
know where you stay. So I know which hotel you stay in." And I was
Okay.
like, "Okay, which hotel is it?" And she nailed
Uh,
it. She's like, "This is the hotel you stay in." And I was kind of gobsmacked. I was like, okay, that's very odd. And she said, next time, let me know. And this was sexy. Even for this, I was like, this is pretty sexy. She goes, we can meet at the bar, or I can bring the bar to your room.
That's a good one. That's a definitely
That's a
a good
solid
one.
line.
Yeah, solid
That's a
line.
solid
Solid
line.
line. I like it. Yeah, wonderful.
I was impressed.
Excellent. So I'm proud of her. I'm proud.
I am too. I was like, normally it's the guys in India that are trying to hit on you, and they have really horrible pickup lines. But she had the one and nailed it. I was like, you know what? Well done.
Wonderful. Yeah. Hold on. There was a little bit of a technical thing here. Oh,
Oh,
cool.
sorry.
Yeah, yeah. I'm proud of her.
Yeah, same here. I was like, well
Yeah,
done. You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
use that line on somebody else, and that'll work. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
But I mean,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Excellent. So now how often do you come to India?
You know, I was from 2013 to 17
Mm-hmm.
every year for months. I would
Okay.
spend a good few months. Most people don't realize that I also speak Hindi and Punjabi, and I speak it fluently. So it's not like, you know, I sound like I'm from here, whatever. But I speak the language, so I can do. And when I first came to India, it kind of blew people away that I could do that. So I started getting booked more and more and more. Then I worked a lot with Veer Das. Like Veer's a very good friend of mine. And we did the Destination Unknown um, thing for Amazon. If you want to go check that out, I'm in episode 1 and 6 with Veer and Ashwin Mishran. Um, and then kind of started doing stuff here. And then COVID hit. And once COVID hit, it just kind of put a little damper on me coming back to India, because I heard stories where people were going there but then having to stay because they couldn't even quarantine out. So now the plan is to come back. I have a new special coming out end of January here in the States, and that's going to be global. So the plan is to come back and tour again in India, like in March is the
Oh,
plan. This is
fantastic.
what usually when I come is
Fantastic.
March, April, May, before it gets too
Yeah,
hot and too
of
unbearable.
course. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. True,
So
true,
yeah.
true. Of course. Now, tell us about your acting.
You know, I was signed with CBS for a year. It was a lot of fun. I've done some independent stuff. I've done some independent films, things of that nature. But mostly the focus is on the stand up now that the social media is gearing up.
Okay.
So as that gets bigger and bigger, we're going to start focusing more on branching out both ways with the acting and the stand up, and devoting more time to that. But now I have a full team behind me over at Gersh, where I have the acting agent, the commercial agent, and the stand-up comedy agent. So they're going to find that balance for me. So it's wonderful.
As soon as I heard the word agent, guess what came to my mind?
What's that?
You just said that. You just said, didn't you say that your ex-wife was an agent?
She is my agent. She's my comedy agent.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's the thing. You said three agents. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, well, she's my comedy agent, and then so there's an act. So there's different branches to it all, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
there's a comedy agent, which she's mine. Then there's an acting agent, which is different, and then there's a commercial agent, which is different. So I have she developed that whole team for me. So
Wonderful. Excellent.
forever indebted to her for that. So
Of course, of course. So,
yeah.
what would your advice be to someone who's actually aspirational on your path?
It's not. Russell Peters told me this, and it was we were having dinner one night, and he said, just remember, it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So you can't find, if you're trying to find success overnight, because you see what's happening, like especially in India, like you see like some of my dearest friends like Javesh Walia,
Mm,
who else? I mean, these guys have been working at it day in and day out, but everybody thinks of them as overnight success. Danny Fernandez, who's amazing, like those guys, Anshu Moore, uh, uh, Aditi Mittal, like all those guys, Amit Tandon, like you see them as overnight successes. You don't see how long they were doing it before. So just understand that it takes time, takes
right.
dedication. Don't give up your day job. immediately. Start doing what we all did: is keep your what is bringing income in, what is keeping your roof over your head, what is keeping food on the table, and then pursue your dreams. Like that's
Of
the thing.
course.
That's what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
people always ask me about, like, were your parents supportive? I was like, they're Indian parents. And I said this one time, I was at High Spirits in Pune. And I said this, and this is how I ended the show. I said, your parents aren't scared of your dreams. They're not. They're scared that when they're gone, you won't be able to feed yourself.
Oh, that's true. That's
So
true.
what they want you to do is become an engineer or become a lawyer or become a doctor, because they know that'll guarantee when they're gone that you'll be okay. But there's no rule book in the world that says a lawyer can't be a comedian and a comedian can't be a lawyer. There's no rule book in the world that says a doctor can't play the drums and a drummer can't be a doctor.
Right.
So do all of those things, and then when you find success, leave that other side and
Fantastic.
pursue that full on. And
Fantastic.
put money away because it's going to help. Because travel expenses, like, it's called show business for a reason. There's the show and then there's the business. So put some money away. Make sure you have money to travel. Make sure you have money for hotels, because you'll get to a city where a promoter won't pay you. Now
Hmm.
what do you do? How do you get out of that city? So you have to be self-reliant and make sure that that's your passion and that's your dream and that you're willing to put the time in. And if you stick to it, you'll be successful.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Excellent. So what about the 10-year-old Raj?
Oh my gosh, I say this all the time. If you would told me that 10-year-old Raj would be a successful stand-up comedian,
Mm.
I think he would have lost his mind. Uh, and I think there would have also been in the back of his head, like, I told you so. I told you I was going to do this.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's sorted. So you already knew that you had it in you. It was inbuilt.
Yeah. I remember, I'll tell you the exact moment. My father and I were in the living room of our apartment
Okay.
in Pleasant Grove, Texas, and he's watching Amitabh Bachchan Dawn, and he would wear, I don't know why, he wore short pants, all the time in the house, and I
Mm.
remember pulling on his shorts and said, "I'm gonna do that one day," and he said, you're gonna be a police officer or a smuggler?" And I said, "No, I'm going to be an actor, or I'm going to make people laugh." And I was
Wow.
4 years old.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
That's
And
amazing.
I remember it like it was yesterday.
So how about a couple of quick one-liners to make our audience in splits?
A couple of quick one-liners.
Uh,
They're all very, very dirty. So I'm trying to think of what I can do. um, I don't know if this will offend anybody, but I think it's funny.
yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
but I was watching a documentary on where people handle tragedy in very incredible ways. And there
Hmm.
was a lady in Sri Lanka
Hmm.
many years ago that named her baby. This is a true story. That named her baby boy Tsunami
Oh my God.
because he was born when the first wave hit the island. That's a true story.
Okay.
And I thought that was remarkable that she would do
Hmm.
that. And then I
Hmm.
thought one day that kid is going to get lost at the beach.
Of course. Of
so
course.
that, so that's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite one-liners that I wrote many years ago, and it still seems to work. Anything else, go and find me on, so because everything else is too. I don't know how old the age is of your audience, but some of it's a little too dirty for me to. And my mother's favorite joke is also on. I believe it's on YouTube, and it's on
Okay.
Instagram. But my mother's favorite joke is there, and you can't air that anywhere. It's really dirty.
That's the one, the nun one you said?
The nuns, the three nuns,
The
and the
nuns,
Pope.
the three nuns. Okay. I'll have
It's
to look that up. We'll
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah.
yeah, and you email me or just message me when you do watch it,
Okay.
and understand that my mother was a 5'3" Indian, Punjabi nurse, and that was her favorite joke. And
Wonderful.
when you hear it, you'll be
Yeah.
like, oh, auntie, oh my god.
I knew you.
You'll see, man. I'm telling you, when you see it, you'll be like, I cannot believe this auntie.
Oh,
And then my
wow.
dad's like, it's FedEx and UPS are merging. They're called Fed Up.
Fed up. I know.
That's his joke. And then go watch hers, and you'll see the dynamic that I grew
That's
up in.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Some rapid fire.
sure.
First joke you ever cracked. If you remember, I don't think someone would remember that. But then if you remember something, some early on jokes rather.
Uh, there was a lot of racism in small town Mesquite, Texas, and there's also racism and ignorance. Right, this goes hand in hand. And so this guy comes up to me in school, and he said, "Hey, Raj, where did you park your camel?" And the first thing that came out of my mouth is like, the last time I saw it, your mom and dad were on it. So if you can tell them to bring it back, because that's my only way home. And it shut him up immediately. He didn't know what to say. And I just walked away like silent victory.
Oh God. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So your favorite comedian as a kid?
He passed away many years ago, but
Mhm.
Johnny Carson was a late night talk show host here. His name was Dennis Wolfberg. He
Okay.
was one of my favorites. New York City school teacher for 20 years before he became a comedian,
Oh, wow.
and was
These things only
just.
happen in America, seriously.
I know, I know, I know. But
Only
I
there.
mean,
Yeah, yeah.
but like Anshu Moore, who's a great comic in India,
Mm,
was the
mm.
head of Xbox Asia before he became a comedian. Javeshu Aluwalia was running a call center of 1,100 people before he
Wow.
became a comedian.
That's
So there
fantastic.
are these, there are those guys. If you look at like the All India Bakjot guys,
Mm.
those guys. I mean, all of them had pretty successful day jobs before
Corporate
becoming,
careers.
yeah,
Right.
corporate careers. So
Oh,
I
that's
mean, it's not
cool.
like, but I mean, he was uh, yeah, he was a short statured man, very curly haired Jewish man. And one of the jokes that I always remember, he said when his first child was born, when she came out, she was bluish. And he said, Lord, I meant Jewish. And I remember him said when my wife was pregnant, she would go to the bathroom around the clock, to the point where uh, she would she
I
would
think I know.
qualify for federal assistance in case of a flood. Um, and he was a brilliant man. Was on Johnny Carson a bunch. Unfortunately, succumbed to a brain tumor, and before he could blow up, before he could be the huge success that he was.
Mhm.
But he was one of my favorite, absolutely one of my favorites. And then, just the guys that were coming up at the time, like Jim
Mm.
Carrey was coming up at the time. He was a great stand-up comic. Most people don't realize that; they just think of him as an actor. Um, Henry Cho was great. He was a Korean guy from Tennessee who grew up in Tennessee, so he sounds like he's from the South, but he looks Korean. So those were a lot of fun. But Eddie Murphy, all the black comics, Eddie Murphy, Red Fox, those guys were like my cousins. That's what they would bring over to watch.
Of course.
And so those guys is kind of what I cut my teeth on.
Oh, nice. Most embarrassing childhood memory.
Oh, most embarrassing child. Oh, you know this. Every Indian parent is going to make when you tell them that you want to go into entertainment, every dinner party that happens, they're gonna make you sing or dance or something.
My God.
And
Yeah. She knows how to
yeah.
sing. She knows how to dance. Oh my God.
Like, and you're always the next somebody. He's the
Yeah.
next Amitabh. Watch, look at him dance. Next, he's next Mithun. Look at this. Look at him. Raj, shake your hips. Shake your hips like Mithun. And you're like, oh. And you don't know what else to do. These guys are all drunk on shivas, and so you're just shaking your ass for these guys. Next Rajesh Khanna,
100%.
watch him. Look at him. Next Rajesh Khanna. You're like, I'm 9. I'm like, okay.
Oh my God. Heck yeah.
That was my embarrassing childhood moments.
Oh my God. Heck yeah. I think that's the story of every kid of India.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They just make you dance at these parties. They're not going to pay for any
Yeah.
entertainment. They're not,
No,
they're just going to put the radio on and make you dance.
that's true. My God, my cheeks are hurting. Uh, so who was your biggest supporter as a child? Your mom, your dad? Your dad, it seems like.
Yeah, my dad. For this side, my mom and everything else. My dad, when it came to the arts, 100%. Like anytime I did a drama in school, he didn't miss. If I did a drama in
That's
college,
nice.
he
Yeah.
didn't miss. And when it came to like what I was telling you about, I'll tell you a very sweet moment when my dad said, for 6 months you have to pay for your own bills and you have to pay for your own apartment. You have to do all of your
Mm,
own things.
mm-hmm.
There was a time where it got lean and I didn't have a lot of work. So I wasn't, I would scrape up a few bucks here and there to go get a burger or whatever. And my mom, times would be like, come home and let me, make dinner. And so I would go to my mom, my parents' house for dinner. And there was 2 times that this happened, and it brought me to tears both times. Uh, I didn't have a lot of money, and it was all reliant on stand up. And my mom had made rajma chawal and roti and aloo gobi and all this stuff, and she packed it in a not a tiffin, but in just a paper bag, in some Tupperware. And when I got home, there was 3 $20 bills at the bottom,
Oh, oh,
and that
how
happened twice.
sweet.
And
Oh, how
yeah,
sweet.
yeah, and
Yeah.
there was a note that said, "Buy groceries, don't tell your dad."
How sweet.
Yeah,
My God. Yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
So
So
if you
that was
weren't a comedian,
yeah,
what do you think that you would have been?
cardiothoracic surgeon.
Doctor. Doctor?
Cardiothoracic surgeon. That's what I wanted to be.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Your
Yeah, yeah.
childhood crush, real or Bollywood?
Oh my God, Rekha, who? Come on, how could you? Oh, how could you
Wonderful.
not love? I mean, I had real
Seriously.
ones as well, but Rekha, come on, she was it, bee's knees, man. And then one of the people and it's so funny because I was always such a huge fan of hers, and still
Mm-hmm.
am. That
Mm-hmm.
follows me on social media is Tabu, and I'm such a huge fan of hers. And she
Wow.
chimes in and likes posts, and I'll just say thank you, and she
Nice.
says thank you back, and so that's really cool. I got to meet Meenakshi Shadri, lives here in Dallas,
She
and
used to. I think now is she back in India? Because
I think she does
maybe.
some stuff in India, but I mean, her
Okay.
husband and family are
Yeah.
here in Dallas.
Okay. Okay.
I met her. There was a fashion show that was done, and I
Mm-hmm.
performed at that fashion show, and I got done, and I was at the bar having a drink, and after the fashion show was done, I didn't realize she was standing next to the bar. She was waiting on, I guess, her husband or whatever, and then we were in the same elevator, and she
Mm.
said, "You're really good. I'm such a fan," and so that
Oh,
kind of blew me away. But
fantastic. Very
yeah,
cool.
there was a girl named Melissa who I had a crush on as a kid, but then you couldn't beat Rekha back in the day. I mean, that was it.
Of course.
I mean,
Of
Muqaddar Ka
course.
Sikandar when she I mean, come on,
That was
that's
amazing.
that's a,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
wrap. Silsila, that's a wrap.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So yeah,
Yes. No, true, 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 true. One superpower you wished you had as a kid.
to fly.
Okay.
because I would travel the world instead of being stuck in Mesquite, Texas.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
Comedy or acting? Pick one.
comedy.
I thought so.
Yeah, yeah.
Best stage moment ever.
Performing for Shabana Azmi.
Ah, very nice.
And doing my Amitabh Bachchan joke where I say, you have to worry about your as we grow older, our heroes and our idols grow older. So I don't know if you remember this, but in 1993, Amitabh Bachchan was in a movie called Agnipath where he was shot 4 times and
Mm,
survived to
right.
take revenge on the people that shot him. And then 21 years later, made a movie called Piku where he dies of constipation.
That's true.
And I did that right in front of her, and she has worked with him for how many years, and she put her face, she goes, oh my god, so good, and then laughed, and I was like, that's one of my best moments. And then
Wow.
Wahida Rahman was one, but my favorite moment ever was my mother came with 16 of her friends, and at the end I pointed my mother out, and she stood up, all 5'3". I go, that's my mom right there. And she stood and she waved, and this is what she said out loud. She waved and she goes, I used to beat him, and waved like she was the Queen of England. She was doing this move. I was
Oh
like,
my
nobody,
God.
no, nobody even asked you. Like,
I used to beat him.
so
Salute
that
to
was my,
Indian
because I was
parents.
yeah, that was the last time she passed away from cancer in 2012, but that was the last time she got to see me perform. So that was
Oh,
really cool.
yeah. So one joke you're very proud of.
That I'm very proud of. It is my Jesus football joke. It is 100% true story. I was
Mm-hmm.
being, in India you call it ragging. Here it's bullying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
I was getting bullied by the
Believe.
football team, and I thought, you know what, I'll play football because then they won't bully me because I'm a teammate, and that's a horrible idea. And I said the first time I got hit, I saw Jesus, which was okay for my teammates, but I'm Hindu. Uh, do you realize how hard you have to be hit to see somebody else's God? And so that's was the second joke I think I ever wrote, and that's the one that went viral, and it's the one that everybody kind of knows me by. And if I'm at a
Wow.
show and I don't do that joke, somebody will call it out and ask me to
Mm-hmm.
do it.
To, wonderful.
Yeah,
So one thing that always makes you laugh, no matter what.
people falling down.
That's true. That is true. That is true. That is true.
It sounds cheap.
It's
I know it
No,
does.
it
It sounds
doesn't.
cheap
I mean, I do the
because
same. It's sad, but I mean, I extend my hand, but I still laugh.
yeah, I say this all the time. It's like for the first 5 to 10 seconds, I'm gonna laugh hysterically. I'll help you,
Yeah, that's what I do. I'll be like,
but
okay, fine, here's my hand, but I had to laugh.
I know, and even I mean till this day, even if it's friends or whatever, and they fall, I can't I can't not laugh. So when people ask me what my humor is all the time, it's people falling. Like,
I know. And I remember in Boston, it used to snow.
oh yes, yeah,
Yeah. So at one point in time, it was my freshman year, this one guy, I think he had a crush on me. It's possible.
yeah.
He was just standing and he was talking to me. He was literally just standing. He wasn't even walking. And he just fell.
So that was it, right? At that point, you couldn't be attracted to him after that moment.
And he just fell.
And here's the thing that at that moment, he's like, I've messed this up. We're done. I can't.
But I mean, I could still understand that he was walking. It was icy. No, he was
Yeah,
just standing.
yeah. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm
So,
saying. Like, when he stood up, he's like, okay, I'm gonna go home now because I've just lost every chance with Devika ever. Like, there's no way.
that's
Because he couldn't stand up and be like, hey, so do you want to go to dinner?
no, stand up.
You want to go get something to eat now? No, I don't. Not with you.
I'm
Because
okay.
I would just keep falling down jokes. I'm
Oh
like,
my
oh,
God.
look at
Yeah,
look at
yeah,
the
yeah,
line at this
yeah.
restaurant. I hope you don't fall
Oh
down.
my God.
Uh,
No. And my laughter has been very loud, It's very loud. When I laugh, I
that's
laugh
great
loud.
though.
I know it
That's
is.
fantastic.
It
I
is.
hate when
It
people
is.
hide their laughter. I hate when
No,
people
I
cover
mean,
their mouth
yeah.
or do that. So,
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, he was a nice guy, but yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
poor fella.
The falling down joke. I keep telling people, I mean, I understand, you trip and fall. You're standing, how do you fall? How do you fall and stand?
well, it is Boston. He could have been drinking. They do a lot of that in
I
Boston.
mean,
So
I no, because it is middle of the day. I hope not. I hope not. But
if
yeah,
you ever when I come to India, like you're gonna come on stage, you have to do that bit where you talk about this guy this
just like
one time.
standing and he just fell. Maybe I'll call him out. But he's a professor at some university right now.
Oh
Can
my
you
gosh,
imagine?
poor
He'd be
guy.
like, what? I swear.
I hope it's not
I,
physics because gravity is a bitch for that guy.
oh my, sure, sure, the absolute. My goodness, yeah. It's not physics, it's chemistry.
There it is. Look at you. See, you're a natural born comic. There you are. I can
There you
always
go.
tell when somebody has a comic in their soul. That is fantastic. Well done. Uh there's your first 2 minutes on stage.
I swear. You know, in India, we call it hate kori. Hate kori
Huh.
means where it all begins.
Acha.
The moment where it all begins, it's
Okay.
called the term is called hate kori. So
Okay.
like you said right now, this is your first 2 minutes. So I was
Yeah.
thinking it's like hate kori.
There you go. I will take full responsibility for your success as a comedian when you make it.
No, my sister, by the way, she's actually like she always had an amazing mimicry talent. She's always had that, and but she
Yeah.
mimics me. So I
Oh,
keep
that's good.
telling her, yeah,
Yeah.
she's always mimicking me. So I keep telling her that I'm your content. Just go there and just kill it. I'll keep
Yeah, absolutely.
providing all the content for you. Just do it. And I keep laughing at them, seeing that the way she mimics me. So yeah.
We'll give her this give her this story because I don't know if she knows it, but give her this story. I think she'll do great.
I swear. That's true. That's true. So if you could tell only one joke for the rest of your life, what would
Oh my
that be?
gosh!
Just an interesting one.
If I could tell one joke for the rest of my life, I I I would tell my mom's nun joke because
Ah.
it's so good and it's so filthy and it's so fabulous, and it deserves to be heard by everybody forever. Because I don't know of many people that know that joke. But it's look. I'll send it. I'll send you the link
You
for it.
have to. Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
That'd be that. I mean, I don't think everybody would want to listen to it for the rest of my life, but but I will
Or maybe the
gladly tell
silent treatment.
it.
You
I'll
never
gladly
know.
tell it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what's the future for comedian with Raj? Comedian Raj.
I just, I hope to just keep doing this until the last minute. Just hope to make as many people laugh as I can, make as many people joyous, travel the world and do it. come back to India for sure. Like I was stunned the first time I came to India, 2013. We did 16 shows, all 16 shows
Wow.
sold out.
Fantastic.
And
Kudos.
that was,
Congratulations.
yeah, that was amazing. And then the last shows that we did was with the last shows I did there was with Veer on the Destination Unknown on Amazon. We did Rajasthan, we did Jodhpur, and we did Ladakh.
Wow.
And so we got to perform for the audiences there, and that was incredible. And so I hope the future is just making people laugh, making a little bit of money, putting some food on the table,
Absolutely.
getting
And I think, that this is the need of the hour as well, given that people are
yeah
so stressed out. Most
yeah.
people you see with a long face, you're like, why?
Especially now that everybody has a phone in their hand, they can look up stand-up comedy.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
and in India you have a treasure trove of so many amazing comedians. So look up Apurav Gupta, look up Pratyush Chobe, who's one of the best. Amit Tandon, Javeshu, Anshumor, Danny Fernandez, Veer, of course, Papa CJ, like all those guys are my friends. So look those guys up. Aditi Mittal, Niti Palta, like look those people up because they're just gems and they're just there for. I mean, that's what they do is they live to make you guys laugh. So,
Fantastic.
and then also look up me because
Just cut.
I'm an attention whore as well. Uh, so look me up. But you have all of those guys at your disposal, and make sure to check them out because they're really really talented folks.
Of course. What's your dream collaboration?
My dream collaborator, Johnny Lever.
Oh my God. That man. It was
He's
amazing.
unbelievable.
Yes.
He's unbelievable. There's nothing he can't do. Johnny Lever is one. Back in the day, you're probably too young to even know this, but there was a Mahmood was one of them back in the day. But today's dream collaboration would definitely be Johnny Lever would be one of them. He's one of the best to ever do it out there. Here, my dream collaboration. Gosh, I don't know. I've worked with all of them. I've worked with Dave Chappelle. I've worked with, Sebastian Maniscalco. I toured with him. I've worked with Matt Rife. Matt, I used to take to dinner because he was so broke.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, I used to take to dinner and make him buy something for the next day, so they had food to eat the next day. So I've worked with Russell. I've worked with you name it. So dream collaboration. I don't know the next up and coming.
Dream collaboration is just Raj with Raj. That's fine.
Oh yeah, Raj with Raj would be. I would love that show. But no, I mean anybody. I just love being around people that are funny and people that bring joy to people's life. So yeah,
of course. So wonderful. It was so fun talking to you.
Yeah, this was great.
Cheeks hurt. Seriously.
This is probably, and I don't say this at all ever because I don't want to get it out, but this is probably one of the best interviews I've done in the last 10 years. So much fun. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much.
It was fantastic, Raj.
Thank you.
Kudos, keep shining,
thank you so
keep
much.
making us laugh.
Thank you so much. I appreciate everything. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Cheers.